Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into something kind of special today. Marriage is sweet. Recipe for lasting marriages.
Oh, yeah, I was excited to dig into this one.
It's by Bishop Dr. Elizabeth Thuya, and let me tell you, it's not your typical relationship advice book.
What really struck me was how she brings in her personal journey of faith. Like it's woven through the whole thing.
It totally is. And it brings this really unique perspective. You ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
So Bishop Dr. Thuya, she kicks things off with this analogy of building a house. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, totally. It's like that foundation, right? You can't have a strong marriage without a strong base.
Exactly. And she's like, what makes up that foundation? And it all comes down to God's word and truly understanding your partner.
It's like those two things are the bedrock, the essential ingredients for a marriage that can weather any storm.
And you know me, I love how she gets into the nitty-gritty of how men and women operate differently.
Because we do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it feels like we're speaking completely different languages.
100%. She even talks about how men often show love through actions more than words.
Oh, that's so true. Like a husband might fix that leaky faucet instead of writing a love letter.
And think he's being super romantic.
Exactly. And the wife's left wondering, does he even hear me?
Hmm. And that's where her emphasis on understanding really hit home for me.
Totally. Like it's not about expecting your partner to be a mind reader. It's about putting in the effort to learn their language.
It's about figuring out what makes them tick, what makes them feel loved and appreciated.
And that's a recipe for marriage that's truly sweet.
And one thing that really struck me about this book is that Bishop Dr. Thuya doesn't shy away from those tougher topics in marriage.
Oh, absolutely not. Like she dives right into the thick of it.
And she does it in a way that's so practical and relatable.
Like real advice for real couples.
Exactly. And one of the big ones she tackles is forgiveness.
Yeah, it's not just a passing mention either.
No way. She really digs deep into how essential it is for a lasting relationship.
Because let's face it, holding on to grudges, that's a surefire way to create distance and resentment.
Right. And she tells this incredible story about a woman who discovers her husband has been unfaithful.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that's a tough one.
You would think the natural reaction would be anger, right?
It's sure.
But instead, she pauses.
She takes a step back.
Exactly. And she considers the bigger picture, her long-term goals.
So what happens? What does she do?
Her approach is amazing. She handles it with this incredible mix of faith and strategy.
I'm hooked already.
And guess what? It actually leads to a confession from her husband and a renewed commitment to their marriage.
Wow. Now that's powerful stuff. See, that's what I mean about this book. It's not just about warm and fuzzy feelings. It's about tackling the hard things head on.
Absolutely. And finding those practical solutions, even in the midst of really difficult situations. And, on a lighter note, there was another piece of advice that really resonated with me.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It might seem small, but she talks about the importance of compliments, especially for women.
Oh, tell me more about this because I can see how that would be huge.
She emphasizes how much those words of affirmation matter, like genuinely expressing appreciation for your partner.
Right, because everyone wants to feel seen and valued is, like you said earlier, speaking each other's love languages.
Exactly. And speaking of understanding, she also brings up this fascinating point about how relationship dynamics can actually shift after marriage.
Oh, how so?
You know how in the early stages, men are often the pursuers?
Yeah, the classic romantic leads sweeping you off your
Yes,
feet.
exactly. But Bishop Dr. Thuya suggests that this dynamic can actually flip after the I do's.
Interesting. So then the roles reverse.
In a sense, she says that women often become the ones who crave that continued pursuit and attention.
Now, that's something I'd never really considered before, but it makes sense.
And it's not about playing games or anything,
No, not at all.
It's about recognizing that those needs for love and affirmation, they evolve over time, and that's completely normal.
It's all part of growing together, right?
Yeah.
Adapting to the different chapters of your relationship.
Exactly.
So, are we ready to touch on the elephant in the room when it comes to marriage books?
Okay, I think I know where you're going with this intimacy.
You got it. It's not always easy to talk about, but she really dives in head first.
She does. And you know what I appreciate? It's not taboo in this book.
Right. Like
Yeah.
it's a natural, healthy, and important part of marriage.
And she presents it as this beautiful thing, something that's ordained by God and essential for a strong bond.
And it's not just about the act itself.
Right? Exactly. She talks about the importance of being creative, keeping that spark alive.
I love how she encourages couples to think outside the box, to try new things.
Oh, for sure. Like, One thing she suggests is changing up the scenery.
Okay, I was going to say spicing things up.
And I'm not just talking about a romantic getaway, although those are great too.
So what, like within your own home?
It can be as simple as moving from the bedroom to the living room.
See, that's what I like about her advice. It's practical and doable.
Right, like you don't need a huge budget or a fancy vacation. Just a little bit of creativity and that shared intention to keep things exciting.
It's those small gestures, those little acts of love and attention that can really make all the difference.
We've talked about communication, forgiveness, keeping things exciting, but Bishop Dr. Thria dives into one more thing that's super interesting.
Okay, what's that?
Temperaments.
Oh, interesting. I've heard of that. Like personality types, right?
Exactly. She says understanding these temperaments can be a game changer for couples.
It's like having this whole other layer of insight into yourselves and each other.
Totally. So for anyone who's scratching their heads right now, like what exactly are we talking about?
So think of it like this. We all have these inherent personality traits, these tendencies that shape how we interact with the world, and especially with those closest to us.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not like, what's your sign kind of thing.
Yeah, no, not at all. Bishop Dr. Thria describes four main temperaments: sanguine, choleric, melancholic, and phlegmatic, and none of them are better or worse than the others. It's more about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each one.
All right, I'm intrigued. Break it down for us. What are these temperaments actually like? Give us the real life version.
Okay, so picture this. A sanguine person walks into a room and they just light it up.
The life of the party.
Exactly. They're outgoing, enthusiastic, love being around people, and they bring that same energy to their relationships. Then you have the choleric type, super driven, ambitious, natural-born leaders,
Okay, go-getters.
for sure, but they can also be a bit quick to anger if things don't go their way.
Hmm.
Now, on the flip side, you've got the melancholics. They're the deep thinkers, the sensitive souls, very in tune with their emotions and those of others. And then we have the phlegmatics, the calm and easygoing peacemakers of the group.
They just go with the flow.
Exactly. They value harmony and stability in their relationships.
Wow, I can already see how these different personalities could create some interesting dynamics in a marriage.
Right. And that's the beauty of what Bishop Dr. Thria is doing. She's giving us this framework to understand those dynamics. For example, imagine a sanguine married to a melancholic.
Okay, I can see where this is going, total opposites.
Right. The sanguine might be ready to host a party every night, while the melancholic cherishes quiet evenings at home. And without understanding those fundamental differences, it's easy to see how friction could arise.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Like you're speaking different languages when it comes to how you recharge and connect.
Exactly. But knowing those are just different ways of being different love languages even can completely change the game.
It's like instead of getting frustrated, you can start to appreciate those differences.
And that's where the book's practical advice comes in. It's not just about identifying your temperament. It's about using that knowledge to navigate challenges and actually strengthen your bond.
So it's about understanding, but then taking that extra step and actually applying it to your relationship.
Exactly. And it's not just about conflict resolution either. Bishop Dr. Thria points out that understanding temperaments can also enhance the romance.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Well, let's say a husband with a phlegmatic temperament might not naturally shower his wife with compliments. But if he understands that his wife, who's maybe a sanguine, thrives on those words of affirmation, he can make a conscious effort to express his love in a way that resonates with her.
It's like speaking her language.
You got it. And that's what makes a marriage truly sweet. That deep understanding and appreciation for each other's unique personalities.
Wow, this deep dive has been incredible. Marriage is Sweet is so much more than just a recipe book. It's a guide to building a lasting partnership, navigating the ups and downs, and really understanding the beautiful complexities of marriage.
It's about embracing the whole journey, the good, the challenging, and everything in between.
And most importantly, it's about approaching it all with this foundation of faith and love. And I think that's a message that resonates no matter what stage of life or relationship you're in.